Auzubillahiminash-shaytanir-rajeem. Bismillahir-rahmanir-rahim. Assalamualaikum. Jiayanu, Pakhair Agale, Ni Hao, Chunashumme, Washmale. Oh, hi, Gonzaimas, Guten Morgen, Hola, Bojo, Privyat, Kaifa Hal? Harishumat Chatore, Ahlan Wasal Marhaba, Buna, Mucho Gracias, Swabi, Abhalli Kareaya. Hosh Galdin and I Sayo Huyamora, Chiva Tochi, Halyut, Kalimera, Khairatan. And a very warm welcome to everybody who's tuned into PTV World and watching What this morning on the 1st of January 2024. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm very lucky that I've been joined by my very well-learned colleague who happens to be Ms. Hajar Sati. I happen to be Shahzad Hasan Khan, and we hope and pray that everybody out there is doing wonderfully well and that you're ready to kickstart your day. But first things first, Hajra, obviously, for everybody who's out there, all those Pakistanis, we stand in solidarity with Palestine and the people of Gaza. And we all know that, unfortunately, 21,000 people have been killed. And out of that, there have been more than 6,700 kids, students, doctors, paramedics. And for them, it's not a new year. It's just another day with the same misery. And we hope and pray that, inshallah, in days to come, that their misery will end, inshallah. So we stand in solidarity with Palestine. Assalamu alaikum, Haja. How are you feeling today?
Walaikum assalam. Thank you so much for introducing me, Shahzad. And I echo what you said just now about standing in solidarity with the people of Gaza. Our government has banned all of the celebrations, and that was a very good step considering the fact that people of Gaza, they are suffering immensely. And I think what is happening there is way, way worse than what Hitler did to the people of, to the Jewish people there in the Auschwitz camps and all of these camps, because the death toll has increased so much, and that too on the unarmed civilians. They do not have any defense mechanism to support themselves. There is an indiscriminate bombing going on against the civilians, the refugee camps, the UN camps. They are not even safe for them. The hospitals, which are supposed to be a safe spaces where the injured, where the I would say ill people go there and where they seek refuge, seek sanctuary, they are not even safe there. Schools are not even safe there. UN refugee camps are not safe there. All of those areas which are designated by the international humanitarian law and also by the United Nations as the safe spaces are not safe. And I think I was listening to a very interesting conversation on a podcast in which they said that all of these conversations, Gaza is actually the graveyard of all of these liberal ideas, because when people talk about equality, when people talk about human rights, when people talk about brotherhood, fraternity, human rights, democracy, I mean, it just seems so hypocritical to hear all of these, very flowery work and very flowery verbosity. And when you see what is happening inside the Gaza, all of that conception fails there, and I think no one is going after that to believe in the equality and in the human rights, because there is one set of human rights for the people who are living in the West, and there is another set of human rights for the people who are living in the Gaza. Exactly. So we stand in solidarity with the people of Gaza, and inshallah, like Shahzad mentioned, we hope and we pray that this year is going to give them some relief, because they badly need that. Everything has been obliterated there. Their houses has been destroyed there, and the longing and what do you say, the wish for the homeland, it is the greatest desire, it is the greatest agency that has bestowed the human, but that is being snatched for them, and I think this is the biggest threat that happens to in the 21st century. So obviously we are going to start our year on a very sad note, on a very unfortunate note, and in solidarity with the people of Gaza there. But Shahzad, I'm pretty sure you have, you have globe-trottering a lot of time, and you have been to a lots of countries, to a lots of places. I'm pretty sure you have seen much of the Europe. So which is the particular place in the Europe which you like the most?
Well, for me, while I was traveling, I think, I always dreamt about riding sports bikes on the Autobahn, and I think that's something which I like the most as well. But
so
for
Germany.
for me to have that perception of Autobahn was very different, and when I was there on the Autobahn, it was totally different. It was a totally different experience as well. So for my friend to kind of drive, Mitsubishi at 220, I was scared. I was like, hey, you know what? This car does not support 240 or 20 kilometers per hour. So please make sure that you stay within your speed limit. And the gentleman says, well, everybody drives like this over here. And I was like, I certainly do not want to kind of be over here in this car. I feel very vulnerable. But for me, I guess that, within the European countries, I've loved to be in Germany because of the way people are, because of how they actually work, how they're contributing towards, each and every individual is contributing towards the economy of the country, the prosperity of the country, how, they made sure that they're going to industrialize it in a way where, everybody is a part of this holistic procedure where, they're contributing towards the development of the country every single day. So that was mesmerizing. Other than that, I think Austria was wonderful too as well. It was more of a village sort of a feeling.
Salzburg, yeah,
But yeah, Austria
I think
was
Austria is
wonderful. But
even
Sweden, I guess I have to say Sweden, because Sweden was calm. Everybody would go back to their places at 6. They had a 4-day working week. So imagine, I was like, and it happens to be one of the happiest nations on this planet. So I guess it has to be Sweden now.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a very not nuanced approach to talk about Sweden, because I keep hearing about it and they have this, they have that, they are ranked really high on the happiness index. But I think for everyone, happiness has a different definition. And for us, happiness is certainly something else, because for me, happiness is about family, it's about getting together, it's about enjoying the family support, and also soaking in the sunlight, which you really don't get to experience that much in the Sweden. You don't get to witness sun, and I think sun gives you a sort of warmth and a sort of feeling of how do I say it? I think it's sort of a divine feeling, right?
I think I get it, because we are social beings. So imagine after 6 p.m. you go outside on the streets, there's nobody.
Oh my God,
like, okay, main kithe aa gaya,
It's drastically lonely, no? And and because of that, they have established a ministry of loneliness, because people are so lonely and so, highly individualistic that they need to get integrated back into the society. And there's a reason why Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has created us in the pairs and in the society, because we are supposed to live like that. But when I would stray away from the natural way of the life, then obviously things get to seem very meaningless. And I think to put meaning into a meaningless life is the greatest thing that you would want.
Which means that I'll have to bring you back to Pakistan, because imagine that we're a 24 crore populated country, and we're over here, I think that the youth bulge is so huge that we certainly need to kind of talk about them as well. Imagine whenever we are talking about the prosperity of the country, human resource happens to be one of those amazing legit resources with which we have seen nations develop, even in our neighbors as well. So that's something that we would want to talk about. How do you think? Because imagine that, if only 6 to 7% of the youth population is going to get higher education, imagine what's happening and what's going to happen. Are we imparting them any vocational training skills? Are we giving them any skill set with which they can contribute towards the economic prosperity or towards the cultural prosperity as well? There are so many other things. So to kind of talk about that, we're very lucky that we've actually been joined by a master over here who's going to certainly lay out a process that with which we can actually kind of contribute towards the development of not just the youth but the country. And that's how we really need to get started on the New Year's on the 1st of January 2024, whether what can we do to make Pakistan better and economically prosperous as well. So we're very lucky that we've actually been joined by Professor Dr. Mubashir Munawwar Khan Sahab, happens to be the Dean Faculty of Commerce, University of Punjab. Assalamu alaikum sir, good morning, how are you?
Good morning, I'm very good, and today is the first day of the year, so we are very hopeful that the persecution which you just talked about in Palestine and Gaza, that will stop soon.
Inshallah.
And things would come to normal. And we are very hopeful that Pakistan would have a great year this year, because we have some problem, political and economic, in the last years. And we are very hopeful that this year will be very progressive for the Pakistan.
Inshallah, Ameen, Summa Ameen. And now, sir, coming back to what we're going to talk about, so let's start from the composition of the population in the country. And then we'll move on whether what do we really need to do with different segments of the population and how can we do that. So first of all, composition of the population, we do know majority of the population is youth, youngsters, and तो कुछ काम कर रहे हैं, कुछ थोड़े वेले भी हैं बीच में.
That's very right. I mean, we are very lucky from this perspective that there are various estimates. UNDP says that 68% of Pakistan population belongs to the youth.
Yep.
So there are varied estimates, but it comes up to 60 to 65% is the percentage of youth in Pakistan. And when we say youth, we are basically talking about the people with the age bracket of 15 to 30 years. So Pakistan is very lucky from this particular age perspective, because youth is that group which has the hope, which has the aspirations, and which has the strength to literally change the country's culture and the fate of the country as well. So, but when we look deep into it, so we see that only 6 to 7% of the youth is able to get the higher education.
That's
And
disturbing to know.
that is disturbing, and if we talk about educated and uneducated, so 29 to 35% of the youth have no education at all.
Yep.
So that is a sheer waste of the human resource. So we have very good universities in the country, and they are playing their role to educate the youth and then put them to various useful and contributing way towards the country's economy. But there is still requirement that, because and another problem related to Pakistan is the per capita income.
Yep.
So a good part of the youth is not able to get higher education because of the expenses which are related to it. And now, as we see that there are so many private universities in the countries, and now the number of the private universities is probably the more than the public sector universities. So there the education is still much more higher in
But
cost.
Salman, let's talk, because you are also teaching at a university, and let's talk about the students who are in the university who take the degrees and they graduate and then they go to the market, and obviously I mean, around the world the ratio of the graduates versus the market absorbing those graduates is not very proportional, but not lot of people do get the jobs that they require here, right? And we don't have that sort of a vocational trainings here. For example, in the US, not everyone in the Western country, generally this is the trend, that not everyone goes to the universities. They just assess the potential of the student, and they see that if the student has the potential for the research, then they recommend that student for the university. Otherwise, he will have some technical training or the skills acquired for that, right? We don't see that system, very vibrant system here in Pakistan. And someone who is integrated into the academia, how do you see this entire development? Because I see that there's a lot of potential for the vocational training, for these technical skills, which is not there in form of a good degree. And there's lots of romanticism regarding that degrees, you know, so he's a graduate, he's graduated from the degree, but I mean, how useful is he contributing towards the society or to his parents in terms of the bread earner? So I mean, that's a question mark, right?
That's a very good question. I've been to Germanic region in Austria for 4 or 5 years. So there we have seen that the assessment of your potential is done quite earlier in life.
Okay.
That is done when you are in the class 4. So after the class 4, after when you pass the exams, then they divide you into 2 different schools. One is the called gymnasium, which is the higher one, and there would be the students who would do their graduation and the university education.
Yep.
The other group is Hauptschule. There people are engaged in the various trades as well. So you're quite right that blindly doing the graduations and the masters will not answer any question and will not solve any problems. Yes, this is very much required, that the potential of the students is judged, and the students what they want to do, that is also seen before putting them to the professional education. And now the things and the formal education is also changed. So students themselves sometimes pose you this question, that what is the use of this 4 years which I will invest into the university? Because now you find in the internet there are many online short courses. If you go through those courses, then you are able to get certain work from the internet. You may do that work sitting at home, and you may start earning.
And sir, we always kind of mention that, you know, whenever it comes down to degree or education, I think education is for you know, your personality to be more polished, that you're well spoken, that you can write, you can communicate and whatnot. But when it comes down to earning, I think risk is all by Allah Almighty, you know. So please, let's not kind of confuse it as well. I'm not saying that education is not important. Education is important for you to have those presentation skills so that you can gain knowledge, so that you can impart knowledge, you can talk with people, sit down, and that's what is required for you to do any sort of job. But sir, when we talk about this, you know, all of those lucky people, 67% of the population who are going to get through the higher education, what they do is that they start to look for to be in an ecosystem where, you know, there's more money, where, you know, there's more value for their talent. And so what happens is that the brain drain starts to take place, because the companies are looking for smart brains, and that's what they do wherever they might find them. And then people are getting very disappointed that a lot of Pakistanis might have left Pakistan. You know, those people, you know, may them be doctors, engineers, everybody from those professional capacities have actually left the country. So how do you think that the country will kind of replicate the replacements of all of these amazing individuals who've left the country?
Right. Well, to some extent, this worried the people and the people who are at the helm of affairs as well. But in my opinion, those people, because in the last 5 years, you say, or maybe the 10 years, the situation, economic situation was not very good.
Okay.
So if there is no industries, if there is no more industries which are coming up, so where the engineers would go. So when the economy is not growing, then where the MBAs and other business graduates would go. So definitely they should not sit at home waiting for the employment. So if they get the chance to go abroad and earn for themselves, their family and the country, there's nothing bad. And if we look at the development formula of China and India, they also did the same. They deliberately send their brilliant students to American universities. They get the education there, they get qualified, and then they did the jobs in the American companies. And after doing all this, they started coming back to their countries.
Okay.
So the development of China, development of India is to a very large extent dependent upon these overseas who have come back, and they are using their experience, their talent, their education for the development of businesses in their countries. So I think if the students have gone outside the country and they are working in the developed countries in a developed infrastructure, it is pretty good. And when inshallah with the passage of time we will also grow and we improve the infrastructure here, we will be able to attract them back, and they will help the country to grow. And in the meantime, they are also the major contributors to our foreign exchange as well.
True.
Right, and I think that there is always an opportunity that we can extract from a very threatening sort of a situation, and this is what the opportunity which sir is alluding to it. But now, sir, let's talk about, because PTV World promotes the young voices around the world, and it gives platform to the young people around the world. So when we talk about motivating young people, lots of young people have lots of dormant potential which they are not aware about themselves, right? How to rediscover themselves so that in order to make sure that they realize their potential and work towards polishing that. As a professor, what sort of advice would you like to give?
Well, I think that we are doing our efforts, but that are also I had to admit are quite limited. What is required is that we developed certain entrepreneurial opportunities in the universities. So the students who have certain initiatives, they have certain creativity, they want to use that novel ideas into a business, they should be provided an opportunities in where there should be incubation centers, more incubation centers related to the industry, so that if they have certain idea which should be which they can, if they want to try, they should be given an opportunity to try those ideas in the incubation centers. And this is how the great businesses developed in the US, in the UK, and in the developed world. And if they have some other skills, some artistic skills, they should be given opportunities within the campus to try to groom those skills
True.
in a much better fashion. So, focusing on one specific line is not the solution today. Now, we want a holistic grooming of the students.
Exactly, and in addition to that, sir, since you've spoken about the holistic aspect of education as well, I think there's one more thing which I would like to talk about today, and that is that, so imagine when we were in university, it's been almost like, I think, 10 to 12 years that we were in the university. So there were only a few disciplines, right? Either you can do BBA,
yes.
MBA, electrical engineering, MBBS, and stuff like that.
A lot of saturation in BBA,
Exactly,
right?
exactly.
Everyone
So-
is doing that.
Yeah, but now imagine that, when we look at foreign universities, they have disciplines more than 100 or 150 disciplines. So they are getting their students ready for almost everything out there. So you've spoken about the online courses. Why don't you think that, we have those courses within universities? Why don't you think that the universities are being a little more on the innovation side as well and introducing new courses, new disciplines for the students to learn and
Right.
equip themselves for how the world's going to be in near future? So how do you think universities are working in that direction?
Look, I think a lot of new jobs are being created, and the disciplines that we are studying now will get redundant in the few years,
True.
right? Because artificial intelligence, the evolution of the digital technology, there's so much going on. So imparting the critical skills is the important job. So where is your university treading in this particular part?
As far as the online teaching is concerned, as you know, there are already two universities. Which one is Virtual University. I had worked for them as well, and I have recorded certain courses for them as well, and then Allama Iqbal Open Universities. But within that, Punjab University, which is the biggest and the oldest university of Pakistan, it has also started online teaching segment, and we are still working on it, and we will start the online teaching pretty soon. But having said so, as you said, there used to be a few departments and few disciplines to teach. Punjab University have more than 80 institutions. So there are various departments, colleges, and institutes which are imparting education on various walks of life.
True.
So universities and as I know more about the Punjab University is probably the largest pool of academia, which is much more than half maybe graduated from abroad, and they had their experience, they had their exposure, and they are imparting the education on the lines in which they had been receiving their education, and they are well aware of new developments, and they are trying to be abreast of that.
And sir, how do you bridge the gap in between the academia and the job market, or when we speak about research and innovation, entrepreneurship? You've spoken about how there are incubation centers and whatnot. But do you think that the universities of today are actually kind of in connection with the job market as well, so as to know whether what sort of product they need to develop for the market to be utilized?
Yes, I think this is a very important direction, because there is a need of a good liaison between industry and the academia. So the town gown gap, that should be reduced. So we are very much linked up with the Chamber of Commerce and the industries and the employers, and the ranking of the university is also dependent upon your relationship with the employers and the alumni, because you see that most of the alumni from the Punjab University, for example, they are on the key positions of many businesses. So we are developing good relationship with them, so for the employment of our students, and also for the maybe the revision and review of various courses which we are studying.
Wow.
So now this is not the time that you keep going on with an old course for a pretty long time. Rather, you have to review it and revise it maybe on the annual basis.
Exactly.
So
and that certainly happens to be the way forward as well. But thank you so much,
Thank you
Dr.
so much.
Professor Dr. Mubashir Saab, for being with us. Lovely
Thank
to be
you
in
so much.
conversation with you. For everybody who's out there, very sorry. But ladies and gentlemen, that certainly happens to be the direction that we need to be. Our academia needs to be, our job market needs to be as well. And once you start to prepare a product, just exactly what the market needs, you will see a change will take place.
So we are going on a short break, and after that, when we come back, we have an interesting segment lined up. So don't go anywhere. Good morning.
Good morning. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. Thank you so much for staying tuned to PTV World. You're obviously still watching World this morning alongside Shahzad Khan and Ms. Haja Satti. Earlier, we were in conversation with Professor Dr. Mubashir Munawwar Khan Sahab, who happens to be the Dean, Faculty of Commerce, University of Punjab. And he kind of spoke about entrepreneurship and how to really we need to bridge the gap in between the academia and the job market. It's wonderful that people, well, unfortunately, are still thinking about how to get jobs as well, where the world have moved on to incubation centers, entrepreneurship and innovation. We'll talk about it, but there's one more interesting thing which nature brings to us almost every year. I think Hajra wants to speak about it.
That's very true, and the reason why in the starting of the program I asked Shahzad about where he has been to, especially in terms of the globe trotting, was the reason because I'm always very fascinated by this phenomena called Northern Lights or Aurora Borealis, which is known as especially in the northern countries. This lightning is especially witnessed in the areas which are close to the North Pole, and in the South Pole it has some other name, but you can also witness the Northern Lights there.
Yep.
And they are beautiful blend of the greens and reds and magentas, and I really love it. And now we have some photographs that we would like to share with our audiences about the person who has captured the Northern Lights around the world, and it has been published in one of the social media pages, especially on the Instagram.
Wow.
So you can see, Shahzad, one of the reasons why I'm so fascinated by the Northern Lights is that the colors that they produce, you can find these colors everywhere in the universe, be it the changing seasonalities of the nature, especially when you see that when the trees are blooming, when the flowers are blossoming, and when especially the sun is setting, you will see such a beautiful collection of these colors, and they define, and I always connect them with the concept of the Wahdaniyat of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, or the unity of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So you would see the oneness everywhere around in the universe, and especially you can see, I think this phenomena is observed in the Wales, in England, in Germany, in some parts of the Italy, and in the Norway and in the Scandinavian countries, because they are close to the North Pole, and this is the activity which is known as the solar maximum, where the period of great solar activity take place, and during every 11-year solar cycle, you every year you witness these sort of what do you call it, the Northern Lights, and the beautiful display of the nature out there.
I think what it kind of the kind of thought it gives me is that, you know, if that's what's happening on our planet Earth, imagine what's going to happen in Jannah, man. I think that's what I'm more excited about to see. So, ladies and gentlemen, I think where Haja is actually kind of in totality mentioned that, you know, it always kind of comes down to the Wahdaniyat of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and imagine that, you know, such amazing scenes that people are going to witness today on our screens.
Shahzad, if you analyze the 99 names of Allah, and you will find that the one of the name of Allah is Al-Nur, right? Allah is light. And when you see all of these lights, again, that comes into your mind, into your heart, that this is the creation of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and no one, and then again, the concept of the Wahdaniyat, that no one can be equal to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, because the sort of discipline that you see, the sort of beauty that you see in the universe, there can be no God except for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. La ilaha illallah, right? And that is why I'm really, really fascinated by the Northern Lights, and inshallah, if I get a chance somewhere in my life, I would really like to go and witness them, and because you can witness them in the December, especially in the very cold weather, but it's always worth watching it. And
exactly, and I hope and pray that you get a chance to go and witness that as well. And with that, ladies and gentlemen, where I was talking about entrepreneurship and innovation and research, so we're very lucky that we've actually been joined by somebody whose entire job process is to kind of help all of those startups who are out there as well. In her life, in her career, I think she has helped over 300 entrepreneurs or businesses to kind of, or startups to kind of work as well. What are they doing actually? Something which we would want to know. So we're very lucky that we joined by Country Director, Accelerate Prosperity, Aga Khan Development Network, and she happens to be Miss Roma Labib. Hello, Assalamu Alaikum, good morning, how are you?
Assalamualaikum. Really well. Thank you for having me.
Thank you so much for joining us. Wonderful to have you over here. So first of all, let's talk about Accelerate Prosperity, and then we'll move on towards what are you guys doing at Accelerate Prosperity? So let's get
Of
started with that.
course, yeah. Accelerate Prosperity is an exciting initiative, to be honest, of Aga Khan Development Network. We're operating at the moment in 4 countries across Central and South Asia. And we have had quite a lot of impact to create entrepreneurship into a forefront for young youth, women, all of these kind of sectors to come out and do something different and to actually be able to solve complex problems in these locations as well.
So what are those complex problems? I think that's what people would like to know, because
Of course.
fortunately or unfortunately, if there's anybody who might have that complex problem, they might get in touch with you too. I don't know whether it's possible or not, but what are those complex problems when we are to talk about startups and businesses?
So there's several, so I don't think you can pinpoint, but I think what AP is trying to do is concentrate on certain pockets and untapped opportunities in each of the locations we operate in. For example, in Pakistan, we're looking at adventure tourism as one of the big ones, just like you talked about. Is there ways that we can actually take people to go and see the Northern Lights, and then so many other health tech, for sure. But there's businesses that are going to be able to operate and take these groups and actually have a viable business model and create impact. So it could be health tech, ed tech, tourism is a big one, and green economy is something which is really upcoming, which is something also in the series that we're going to be talking about today is right there.
Right, and since you are associated with the Aga Khan Development Network and you talked about the green economy, and I see that Aga Khan Development Network is doing a lot to help fund the green economy and to talk about the impact investment, which is your area of expertise. So let's talk about sustainable agriculture, also talk about what are the particular fields that you want to further explore, and when you talk about the untapped potential of the young people, so what are you particularly looking at?
So, like I said, not one thing. I think what we want to do is promote contextual innovation. So innovation in the realm of what's operating at the moment. So any sector could have an innovative aspect, right? But green economy is definitely a big one because that's really where the world is moving.
True.
And we ourselves in Pakistan are so affected by climate change itself. There's energy crisis in areas like GB. There is requirement of prefab material homes after the floods. There's so many things that can be done, but I think the question is who's willing to do it, who's willing to put money into it, and who's willing to actually take up that as a business and create a business model out of it, make money out of it.
True.
So impact is one aspect, but if you truly want it to be sustainable, there needs to be a second aspect as well.
And would you like to share some of the success stories of your particular adventure or ventures out there, because our audiences are particularly interested in knowing that?
Sure, yeah. So we will be launching Impact Odyssey 2, which is our video series, and hopefully we are able to see some of the glimpses today as well. We've had a first iteration of it, which has been great. There's been a few businesses over there. This time it'll be launching on 15th of January with 4 businesses, case studies, which we're going to be looking at.
Wonderful.
There's one around AI. There's one around green sustainable
and is it
building.
To all people?
Yes, it will be on our website, and you're going to be able to really dig deep into these case studies and look into what these businesses are doing, how they're building, and how AP has supported them, not through just training, advisory, but also to their financing element. So we're providing investment, and we've regionally invested in almost 430 businesses now.
And when we talk about investments in 430 businesses, how much investment are we talking about over here?
So we do smaller ticket sizes. So at the moment, so all of this has equated to just around 9 million USD
9 million
that we have distributed
for
over
430 businesses. Well, that's $1 million use for a wonderful purpose, I think. I think for everybody who's out there too as well. So you spoke about the series, and spoke about 15th of January as well. So I'm going to request my producer, if we do have some visuals, please do share with us too as well. But meanwhile, while we're at it, Hajar spoke about agriculture. Now imagine the world's moving into a very different direction. When we speak about innovation, we have seen that per acre yield has actually been increasing in the rest of the world, but rather over here we're still on with the tractor. That's it. I think that's the most innovation that we have had, unfortunately, over here. Where we had land to, I think that the best and the enriched soil that people are actually looking for. So when we talk about innovation and impactful investments as well, then that means that that we're not investing as much as people would think about it, but whatever we are investing will have the best impact. So when we talk about agriculture in different sectors, what sort of research goes into it, and who is doing all of that research? Is it the businesses themselves, or is AP going to help them that, okay, yaar, ye cheezein yahan pe correct ho sakti, let's do that first, and then we'll talk about the money.
Bilkul, I think your previous segment was very relevant here because usually in all countries that research does come from universities and PhD students and people who are doing their projects for their universities, right? And that's something that then there's people who are able to commercialize it, they're able to get grants for that research to then become into a viable business model. I think that part is definitely weak. What Accelerate Prosperity is largely moving into is a challenge fund model, which means that we do that research for you. We find that untapped opportunity. We see this is the innovation that can be done in this sector. And then we're able to hold a challenge to find the right entrepreneurs and the right teams to be able to come and solve that challenge.
Okay.
So the idea is you come together, whoever is the right fit, they're the ones who then get the investment to then start developing that business, and we're able to support them throughout the tenure of their investment.
So it's more of like an incubation center, right? And it does provide you the facilities of an incubation center. So if someone is interested in coming and approaching you, how that can person that approach you, particularly because you are focusing a lot on the green economy or the green models, and like you mentioned, there's lots of conversation regarding climate change and moving towards more sustainable energy, renewable energy. So what exactly one needs to do if he wants to approach your particular organization?
So we have a process. So we do end-to-end. We do incubation cycles, acceleration cycles for more advanced businesses, but we also do pre-incubation, which means that we're able to really get all of these ideas into that net and that funnel process, right? So the idea is we have various programs. We have a national health incubator, we have a national tourism incubator, and then we have different challenge funds, which we call for applications on our website and our social media. And everyone's just able to apply to that, whoever is relevant. There's an application process, there's a selection process. They come to us, incubation happens, or acceleration, whatever the relevant program is, and then we do due diligence and select the right teams and the right entrepreneurs for investment.
And how do they kind of get in touch with AP as well in the first place? So is it for anybody, everybody? Are there any predispositions for people that, okay, you must be having, or any criteria? Please go ahead.
Or how do one
Of course, yeah.
stand out in order to get selected, right?
I think for us, it's all about you as an individual and the entrepreneur, because we are betting on early ideas and early stage businesses. It's not that you've already created revenue, created traction, and you're able to come in. So anyone really who has this passion to be an entrepreneur and do something that's different, contribute and create a business for themselves and for society. So if that is you, please do come onto our social media. You can even visit some of our co-working spaces in our tier 2 cities. Everything's available on our website, even just a call away, and we're able to give you those details. You can apply, come onto our program, and then from there get all the help you need. Even if at that time you're not the right fit for investment per se, we are able to work with you and do advisory to really get you to the
there will be
point.
something for you. So there's something for everybody. And right while you were actually talking about it, it actually gave me a feel of that we can actually have a television program series as well, like just like Shark Tank. And why not? There's so many people coming in with brilliant ideas, and people might kind of get more aware about how businesses need to be, how much revenue they're generating, and what sort of research goes into it, innovation, the investment which is required. I think it's brilliant. You guys are doing a brilliant job.
I think the research part is very fascinating, because before starting a business, I think you need to put in the effort, and the research just shows that how much serious you are. But now let's talk about the adventure tourism, because you talked about it, and I think Aga Khan Development Network is supporting a lot of adventure tourism, and it is also invested in those sort of tourism. So when we talk about our northern areas, particularly the Gilgit-Baltistan side, and Aga Khan has a very vibrant footprint there, right? So how do you want to expand it, and just tell us a lot about the adventure tourism in particular?
Of course, yeah. I think adventure tourism is an untapped area completely for Pakistan, right? There's so much to see, there's so much to do, but there's so much potentially people can do, and they go there, but there's not actually safety measures and opportunities.
It just gets too risky at times.
Yeah, and also you're just unable to find good things online, even just having that marketing or having that access to those elements, right? And there's a lot of potential. So we're not just doing tourism just in the northern areas, it is nationwide. So our National Tourism Incubator is for all areas. So we also want to start promoting culture elements in Sindh and various other places, Balochistan. But I think we did start, AP in Pakistan specifically started off in Gilgit-Baltistan and Chitral. So we have a really good footprint around hospitality businesses and some really nice upcoming resorts in, for example, near the Pasu Cones and then also Moksha Resort. There's several others that you're able to see, which I think we've supported and helped become more, sustainable, more culturally rooted, and have something to do and activities that resonate with people.
Exactly.
as
And
well.
while I was traveling the Pasu Cones and everywhere, I think that I did see a few places, which were marked that that it's going to be a resort and a hotel, and
There are a lot upcoming. No, but we also don't want a lot of concrete, so we're trying to move in, and this is one of the Impact Odyssey series this time, is that we're moving into more prefab homes and prefab structures that are able to create that sustainability around that area as well, energy efficiency.
And that's
as well.
something which I actually, there was this
Lovely
video which
concept,
went viral on social media as well, that that they had these prefabbed houses which they put on top of each other, and just in one day they had a Guinness World Record of having a 30-story building, and I think that's what they're working for, and everybody's working in the same direction as well. But there's only one question which comes to your mind: why do you think AP is doing all of this? Wow, I mean, what's the purpose? What's the vision? Is it more of corporate social responsibility for the Aga Khan Development Network, or they would want to channelize the energies of the amazing youngsters that we have in the country towards more prosperous Pakistan? Why? What's the reason?
I think definitely it's a mix between creating that impact, but also having that element of, creating something large enough to be able to call that this is something that we were able to create an impact for. AKDN itself is a very interesting institution. It has a not-for-profit side and a for-profit side, as you know. And the idea for Accelerate Prosperity was really to bring those two together and have businesses and actually be able to spur these innovations across that follow the same mindset. So also create impact, but at the same time create that kind of job opportunities, that kind of income, that kind of wealth, that kind of economic value creation for these countries that we're operating in, while actually doing good for them.
Right, and let's talk about the report which you are going to launch on the 15th of January. What are some of the talking points which are there into the report? Because research is a very vibrant part of any...
Haja loves research.
Yes, I'm super into
We
the
love
report.
it as well. It's needed.
Yes. So let's talk about that report. What are some of the talking points, and I mean, how would you like to explain it to our audiences?
So it's not a report, it's a video series that we do, Impact Odyssey. So what this is doing on the 15th, you'll be able to see that there's 4 case studies that we put out of 4 businesses we've invested in.
And they're particularly Pakistan's focused?
These ones are Pakistan focused, and then there's Central Asian focused businesses as well. So those are also going to be out. So you're going to be able to see across the board what we're doing. These businesses, really 5-minute deep dive into these entrepreneurs, how they started their journey. You'll have one, for example, we're talking about prefab homes. Modulus Tech is one of those businesses that's working around prefab homes and has provided those homes during the floods as well. So just seeing that journey and how they've kind of played out. There's a business called Mantaha Wellness, which really talks about health and wellness and how to create that part of your life, and she's created a business out of it, which is really, really wonderful. And it's a success story and really just a tone setter for every single person out there, that this is potentially what you can do just with passion as well.
Wow. So healthier nation, I think that's what we're moving towards as well, with the kind of businesses which are coming up. But thank you so much for being with us. It was lovely to be in conversation with you. If there's anything towards the end you would want to say to our audiences, just look into the camera and say whatever you feel like.
I think I'll keep it more Pakistan specific, but there's a lot of optimism that is still there in our youth, I feel like, and there's a lot we can still do. So entrepreneurship is a great way to do what you like, have your passion, and actually be able to go there. And there is quite a lot of opportunity. I always say at times like these, this is exactly where the opportunity comes out, and you're able to go out there and tap into those sectors and actually create wealth out of it as well while creating impact.
Exactly.
So go for it, follow your dreams, be out there, and come to AP if you need any support at all.
And that's what our job is, that we bring you that opportunity which is out there. So for anybody who's out there and is thinking that there's no hope for me, ladies and gentlemen, please don't do that. Today happens to be 1st of January 2024. It's all hope, belief and gratitude. Please make sure that you hold the rope of Allah Almighty so tightly that you never let it go, and inshallah you will see. Because जो अल्लाह चाहता है जब आप वो करते हैं ना, तो फिर जो आप चाहते हैं अल्लाह आपके लिए वो करता है. Until next time, look after yourselves. Good morning.
Good morning.